Hey everyone, Sylvie here. I hope everyone is feeling absolutely wonderful tonight. I have a video that's just a little bit different than the videos that I usually post on this channel, so if you've been following me for a little while, this video may be a little bit different than what you're used to, but it's an interesting topic, and I think that you guys will find it interesting as well. I hope that you do. Please let me know if you like the topic down in the comments. Please like the video, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. So without a lot of hype and hullabaloo, I want to just go ahead and get straight into the topic of this video. This is actually a question that I've been asked many times since I started this channel, and I thought that it would be kind of fun to address it. So the question is, why do so many psychics have completely different visions about the same event? Now, I know that skeptics and naysayers are going to immediately say, well, that's because they're frauds, that's because they're full of crap, that's because they're not psychic, they don't have visions, they're grifters, they're whatever negative thing that you want to say. In my opinion, that is a very cynical way of looking at the subject, and if you have that opinion, that's fine. But I personally feel that it's just a bit more complicated than that. And while I do not deny for 1 second that there definitely are frauds and grifters and flat out liars out there, that certainly doesn't mean that every single person who claims to have psychic visions or claims to have some kind of paranormal abilities is not telling the truth, or that they're somehow delusional or something of that nature. I actually have a more scientific way of looking at things, and I've mentioned several times on my channel that I am actually a very scientifically minded person, and that's why I do actually sometimes have a little bit of difficulty rectifying the paranormal or existential, I guess you could say, things that I experience, as opposed to my logical scientific side that always wants to make that fit into something that we have already determined or have already established in the scientific realm. I do want to pop in a quick little disclaimer here really quickly. This video and its content is based on my opinion. It is based on my theories. I am not saying that there is any scientific fact or proof or anything like that behind what I'm saying, although I'm sure that plenty of people have probably done some studies and they probably have shown some compelling evidence that will support what it is that I'm about to say. So the first thing that I want to discuss is what it is that makes a person psychic from a scientific standpoint. Now, I know that there's probably going to be a lot of people out there who think, well, you can't mesh these two things together because psychic abilities is a pseudoscience at best, and you can't really put any scientific information or concepts into something that's really kind of like a fake version of science. In my opinion, it is very closed-minded and short-sighted to refer to psychic abilities or paranormal abilities or anything within the scope of the paranormal as pseudoscience, because it's not pseudoscience. It's not a fake science. It's a different realm of science. And one of the biggest downfalls that scientifically minded people have is that they do the same thing that I do occasionally, that I fall victim to, which is trying to shoehorn all of these things into the realm of science and logic. And one of the biggest things that I have learned about existence is that it's not all science and logic, you guys. It's not all 100% cut and dry. It's not all this neat little picture that you can shove in to the concepts and the theories and the philosophies that we have developed as human beings thus far. I now find it rather amusing when I hear scientifically oriented people refusing to accept psychic abilities as actual science, because the concepts that I'm going to discuss in this video are very much based in science and are also relatively well accepted among the scientific community. So really, to understand psychic ability from a scientific perspective, the first thing that we need to discuss is the concept of time. everybody is probably like, what do you mean the concept of time? Everybody knows about time. Yes, we do all know about time, right? But I'm talking about it in a dimensional sense. So everybody says you're 3D, right? Your 3D world, especially when you're talking about the law of attraction, manifestation, and things of that nature, you will hear people constantly referring to your 3D. And that is because we refer to our world as a 3-dimensional world. So we see things in 3 dimensions. Well, we should really be referring to our world as a 4-dimensional world, right? Because the 4th dimension is time. And I think that this is a concept that every scientifically minded person out there completely accepts, is that, time is the 4th dimension. And we don't talk about it a whole lot when we're having normal conversation, when we're discussing the dimensions that we see in our reality, quote unquote reality, because I think maybe it might be a bit confusing to some people, because we see the first 3 dimensions, but you don't really see time. It's just kind of a dimension that overlaps and exists collectively and in and of itself. But this dimension of time is really where we want to focus our interest when we're discussing things like psychic abilities. And why do I say that? Well, because think about this. If someone is psychic, genuinely psychic, okay, this is something that actually does exist. Anybody who's out there who's still skeptical, who still thinks psychics are bullshit, or whatever your hang-up is, that's fine, but this is something that is real, okay? This exists. And although it is an ability, it is not something that you have to be quote-unquote special to have or to do. And I know that's going to be a very controversial thing for me to say amongst the psychic community, but it's the fact of the matter. And it's actually a topic for a whole nother video, because I definitely have a lot to say on that subject. So I'm not going to go into it too much. I will be doing a video just specifically on that topic, that anyone can be psychic. At any rate, I digress. Let's get back to the topic of the concept of time. Okay, so in order for someone to be truly psychic, they have to essentially be seeing through time, right? Because if you think about psychic abilities, what are they? Either someone is predicting something that's going to happen in the future because they've seen a psychic vision of something that is to come in future days, or they're discussing something that isn't common knowledge, that happened in the past, that people want more details about, or people want more information about. So like on this channel, I've done a lot of true crime type of videos where I was trying to go back and look at the event, look at a murder, look at a missing person case, or something like that, and fill in the gaps of the information that nobody else in the world really knows, right? So in doing these things, you're either looking forward or you're looking back. And therefore, you are effectively looking through time, which means that as someone with psychic abilities, you are seeing time. This is what many people are referring to when they say things, or they post videos that say, are you a 4-dimensional being? And things of that nature. What they're actually saying is that you don't only exist in the 3 dimensions that most people typically see in their reality, but you also see time, which is a foreign concept to a lot of people, right? Because like I said before, time is really just this kind of like mythical concept that just kind of overlaps everything and you can't actually see it. Now, I would actually argue that people who have psychic abilities are actually 5th dimensional beings. And the reason that I say this is because not only are you existing in the 3 dimensions that we all widely accept, but you're also seeing through time. But if you can see past events and future events, then essentially you're actually kind of seeing outside of time. You're seeing time as something in front of you that's in your perception, like it is, in our 3D. Like everyday people see a cup sitting in front of them. It's a 3-dimensional cup and it's sitting there, right? Well, as a psychic, then you're also seeing time. So you would have to be somewhat outside of time in order to be able to see that as well. So I would say that since you're able to see these 4 dimensions, that you're actually a 5th dimensional being, because you're existing in this additional overlapping dimension that is allowing you to see outside the realm of what is typical. This actually leads me directly into the next concept that I want to discuss, which is the concept of multiple dimensions. So this is something that a lot of people do accept. This is something that a lot of people don't accept. The concept of the multiverse is something that has been around for a very long time. And I think that people are becoming a little bit more accustomed to it because we talk about it in our superhero movies. And there's a lot of scientific documentaries that talk about multiple dimensions and the multiverse and things of that nature as well at this point. So it's becoming a little bit more normalized than it has been in the past, but I think that there's still a lot of people who think of it as science fiction. You know, they don't think of it as being something that is an actual viable concept. I am here to tell you that it absolutely is. Okay, the multiverse is real. There are multiple dimensions in reality. It's not just our 4 dimensions that we want to acknowledge on an everyday basis, okay? Now, this isn't really something that should be too far of a stretch for a lot of people, I don't feel, because if you can accept the fact that there's 3 dimensions in our reality, that, you know, the reason that we are basically whole is because of the fact that we live in a 3-dimensional reality. And then people can also accept that time is the 4th dimension. Well, why is this so difficult? If you can accept that there's 4 dimensions, maybe even 5 dimensions, if you're willing to accept that, why are you not willing to accept that there are an infinite number of dimensions? So there's a lot of discussion as to whether we consider parallel realities and multiple dimensions as the same thing. In my opinion, in my scientific belief, I would say that yes, multiple dimensions and parallel realities are in fact the same thing. Okay, this gets to be a bit confusing because, you know, like I said before, we talk about our world being the 3D, and we talk about the 4th dimension of time, and so on and so forth. I know a lot of people are probably thinking, well, how could there be an infinite number of dimensions? Why would we only see 3 if there's this infinite number of dimensions out there? Well, the fact of the matter is that existence is insane. Existence is infinite. Existence is, quite frankly, for the majority of human beings, is completely beyond our capacity to understand. But that's okay. We have to start somewhere. So if you can entertain these concepts, if you can start to bend your mind in a little bit of a different way so that you're open to the ideas and the thoughts that come from these concepts, things will start to make a whole different kind of sense to you. And you will begin to find a clarity that I don't know if I can even explain or describe to someone who has not at least started to experience these things. So anyway, I'm babbling a little bit, but the point that I'm getting to is that if someone with psychic abilities can see through time, if they are existing in a 5th dimension, then it's not really that strange or that far-fetched to presume that a being that can see through time could also see through the multiple dimensions of reality. Now, once again, I know that it's kind of a crazy concept, but like I said, I cannot be the only person who has ever thought this. That the reason that different psychics have different visions about the same event is because when they're looking back through time, or even when they're looking forward through time, there's no concrete rule that says that they have to be seeing the current reality that they are in. Maybe they're seeing a different reality. Maybe they're seeing a reality that they just recently existed in, but have shifted to another reality. And I know that all of this is very strange, you guys, but if you even remotely understand the concept of parallel realities, multiple dimensions, however you want to say it, then you understand that as beings in existence, we are also able to move between these realities. The majority of people are not doing this deliberately. They are not shifting realities or multiple dimensions with any amount of deliberance. But it doesn't change the fact that it does occur. So even like with the law of attraction coaches will explain to you that if they use the concept of parallel realities, they will explain to you that what you're actually trying to do is attract a favorable reality. Okay, so once again, I haven't talked a lot about parallel realities or multiple dimensions on my channel yet, but I will be putting out videos that specifically address those concepts. I really just wanted to talk about this specific concept around psychic abilities because, like I said, I've actually gotten a lot of questions, and I do actually find this to be very fascinating. So for the time being, what I really want to leave you guys with is that the reason that different psychics have different visions of the same event is because of the type of being that they are, because of the type of person that they are that sees these multiple dimensions, these parallel realities, this dimension of time. These people see these things in a different way. And because of the fact that they see these things in a different way, you have no way of knowing for sure what it is that they're actually seeing. I would also argue that a psychic that becomes stronger in their abilities may actually get to a point where they can tell that. They might be able to say, well, that didn't actually happen in the reality that I'm currently sitting in. That happened in the last reality that I was in, or in a reality over here, or whatever the case may be. And I know that sounds a little bit crazy in and of itself, but it goes along the same concept of like precognitive dreams and things of that nature. I've talked before about how I have precognitive dreams on this channel, and that's another thing that really basically what you're doing is you're seeing through time, right? So if you get to a point where this is happening as kind of a natural phenomenon where you don't actually have to try to have visions, or you don't have to try to have precognitive dreams or anything like that, they just kind of come to you, well, then I think that you could get to a point where maybe you'd be able to know that you're not actually seeing a past event that's in your current reality or a future event in your current reality. And now this is also a concept that could tie into the law of attraction as well, because even though people have psychic abilities, it doesn't mean that they aren't still subject to the law of attraction. And I haven't touched on that a lot on the channel yet either, but these are all videos that are going to be coming, okay? I could really probably just talk about this all night, and I don't want to make the video too terribly long, so I'm really just going to leave you guys with that little last bit of information that I gave you there, and then maybe I will make another video that delves into this topic just a little bit deeper, but for now, I am going to go ahead and wrap this up. Please make sure to ask me any questions that you have in the comments. I love to read your comments, and I do like it when people ask questions that can spark more discussion, because I like I said before, I really do find all of this to be incredibly fascinating. Anyway, without further ado, as always, thank you so very much for listening. I will be talking to everybody again very, very soon. Bye.